See the shoes? I see the money.
So in Deepwoken, there are 11 factions. Each one boasts a large empire, etc, right? But in this video, I'm gonna put them band for band and see who's the real king here. So starting off simple with Etrian. Obviously, they are most prominent in the Etrian luminant, bolstering two major islands, being Etrius and Isle of Vigils. Now, if we look at the economy on both islands, there's an NPC that buys 6 wood for 5 notes. And considering that they are using this wood to build houses, we can grab an estimate for the average amount of trees needed to build a house, which is around 102. And the average tree in Deepwoken drops 2 wood. Now, if we do the math, in Etrius there is 20 houses, and if we include the castle, that's around 22. Based on the prior numbers, each house costs around 170 notes. So multiply that by 22, and you get 3,740. Okay. Like, that's not even enough to buy an ironclad. An Isle of Vigils is probably even less because everything they have is underground. But the real show of money comes from Kenneth. Don't believe me? Well, in the shops, wood is resold for 5 notes a piece, and the same guy you sell wood to also gives you positive rep, which is needed to even speak to Kenneth, and the usual amount of notes needed to do so is 750. Now, if we consider that each player that has obtained a resonance has gone through this quest line to fight Duke, 750 times the amount of players that have unlocked the badge, we are looking at around 117 million notes. And it could be even more than that. This badge was only created in March of this year, meaning it could be triple this or even quadruple. And that's not even considering that the current leader of Etrius is the 4th prophet of the ministry. And the ministry is very known for getting things done, so money is probably not a problem for them. But we'll get to that later. By the way, I'm hosting a 1,000 subscribers special in my Discord server. Come join to find out what it is. Moving on, we have the Knives of Eyeless, or Ellis, one of the 2 factions in the game that have a joinable guild. Just from the guild base alone, there is 9 rooms, an antiquarian, a mystic, and a barber, totaling to around 300,000 notes. Now this is nice and all, but knives are known for being contractors, meaning they probably get paid massive amounts by factions to do their dirty work. But this isn't the only factor. When playing as a knife and completing a bounty, a chest will spawn beside you that contains loot. This loot can be sold for 200 notes up to 1,000. But if we consider that even 1% of the total amount of visits on Deepwoken have picked Voidwalker, completed a bounty, and sold their loot for 200 notes, the Knives of Eyeless still would have made upwards of 1 billion notes. And I'm sure you and I can both agree that the numbers are probably higher than this, not even considering the odd jobs that the Knives have done in the past. Next up, we have the 100 Legions, a large empire laying in the Western Luminant. Now unfortunately, we don't have access to the Western Luminant right now, so all we have to go off of is a small camp that resides in Viper's Jaw. Judging them solely from the camp, there really isn't that much to go off of. However, if we consider that the Battle Royale map is of Legion territory, one must imagine how they got every single weapon, every talent, and every oath, and somehow even got meteorites containing resonances to fall from the sky, without a vast amount of power and wealth, and maybe even a connection to the Celestials. None of this would have been possible. Up next, we have the Authority. Now, the Authority is similar to the 100 Legions, consisting of a massive legion only located in a small outpost. Now, the Authority are a military organization that take immense pride in starting wars and clearing conflicts. Now, if it wasn't obvious to you from that means they have a lot of money. So much money that they practically just throw it around. They are the sole funding source for the Divers, which gave us Layer 2, contractors for the Ignition Union, close friends and traders with the Summer Company, and sometimes they even hire the Knives of Eyeless to raid Etrian ships for fun. Now, if that doesn't sound wealthy enough to you, I don't know what will. But anyways, let's move on. The Ignition Union. These guys are innovative freelancers, known for making the Darksteel Greatsword, the Railblade, and the Arc Suit. Now, when I said that they were freelancers, I meant to say that they only really work for the Authority. Unfortunately, this is another case of lacking info. They say they are traders, but it's not very easy to see who they trade with, and the only neighboring faction, Summer Company, is always at arms with them because of their rivalry. Even though they have one of the largest cities in the game, I think it's safe to say that the majority of their income comes from the Authority, as a sort of research team for new weapons and such. And speaking of Summer Company, let's talk about them next. The Summer Company are known as the world's sole supplier for firearms and gunpowder, most notably supplying the Authority with their guns. But even the Nomads, the Ministry, and the Ignition Union can be seen here, so it's probably fair to assume that their wares are pretty popular. But that's about all they've got. So let's talk about the last faction sponsored by the Authority, the Divers, the other faction with a joinable guild. Now looking at their guild hall, they have 12 rooms, an antiquarian, a barber, and a mystic, with the total cost being somewhere around 1.2 million. Now that alone is crazy by itself, but they actually have 300,000 notes in the guild treasury. And that's not all. The Divers make a lot of money from killing mobs, more specifically Layer 2 expeditions. Kyrson medallions are supposedly priceless, but if we do some math, the antiquarian would buy them off of us for around 40 notes. Now either Claris is ripping us off or it's the antiquarian. Let me know what you think in the comment section. But assuming that people are going on expeditions every day, the Divers could be making billions of notes daily, not even taking into account that they probably get the most amount of funding from the Authority than any other faction. This would easily set them up to be one of the richest factions in the game. Now bear with me, we're almost done here. The Hive have little to no use for money because they make everything by hand using Lifeweave, mainly their buildings and their constructs. However, the downside to this is that it takes life from the surrounding land, which is why the majority of Aratel is a desert, giving them even less resources to sell. The children of Neve are a tribe that follow the teachings of Neve. They seem to stick only amongst themselves, so money might be shunned or outright unknown to them. However, Archmage did say that these guys would probably have the best weed, so if they ever open a dispensary, they would probably be rolling in it. The Lost Celtor aren't even human, why the fuck would they have money? And finally we have the Ministry. Now as I said before, they have the King of Etris, or the Fourth Prophet, on their side, so they can probably just take some money from the treasury if they ever need some. However, this faction is more inclined to chase gods than the bag, probably not generating a lot of income unless it's needed to help them pursue gods. And I made a tier list. Here you can see I put the Divers at the top and I put the Celtor at the bottom because that's where they deserve to be, because they have no money and nothing else. But yeah, tier list is in the description if you want to make one, and have a good day guys.